enlightened beings that I know, which is Miss Laura Paul. She is Miss Vedic Meditation Extraordinaire, and I cannot wait to hear her story. Welcome, beautiful Laura.
Thank you so much.
Now, we just want to hear from you about your story. Like, what was your tipping point where you decided that meditation was the right thing for you? Start from the beginning.
Short version or long version?
We've got a little bit of time.
So, when I learned Vedic meditation, actually the first meditation technique I came across was Vedic meditation. Wow. I sometimes feel like it was I used to call it luck, right? But I think it was just a blessing that I came across Vedic meditation. It was the first technique that I learned, that I practiced, that I experienced so many wonderful benefits from. And it wasn't until like maybe 4 or 5 years later that I started realizing there were other meditation practices out there. But when I first came across Vedic meditation, I wasn't searching myself to learn.
Wow.
I had for it was probably about 3 to 4 years when I was a teenager, so probably from about 16, 17.
Well, that's a long time ago.
Yeah. 16, 17, up to 20, had been experiencing conditions within the body which could have been described as anxiety, panic attacks. I would swing to the other end as well and just feel this kind of heaviness. I don't like labeling it as depression, but there was definitely a heaviness, a stagnancy, a kind of what the point mentality coming up as well. Lots of emotion, lots of fears, lots of uncertainty. And I lived a pretty good life. Like, mum raised me well and grew up in a really lovely suburb, had friends, had boyfriends and all of that. But although external life was what you'd consider to be good, there was something going on internally that started to cause my body to almost shut down layer by layer by layer. And it just stopped functioning as it should. And it started off with digestion, where I started to not be able to digest the foods I used to eat, such as gluten.
Wow.
A whole lot of other things started happening where I felt sick a lot of the time. I can't even remember what the sickness kind of felt like, but it was just this sense of not feeling good. Kind of nausea in the stomach all of the time, feeling like I needed to throw up, but I didn't need to throw up. Went to the doctors when I was on like anti-acid medication for the stomach, went and had I think 2 or 3 endoscopies where they put you under in hospital, put the little camera down to check out what's going on, and everything would come back fine.
Amazing.
No problem.
Amazing.
Which was kind of, in a way, it's like, well, it's good because there's nothing wrong as such with the body, but the condition was still taking place. And then someone's like, they started to say, I think it's all in your head, it's all in your mind. When people start saying that, I understand what they're saying, and in one way they are right, because this body stuff that was happening was not necessarily being caused by anything external, but was being caused by an internal reality or an internal perception of what was happening in my life or what had happened in my life as well. Basically, we just call this a stress response in the body, and the body just feeling so overwhelmed and in a state of excitation and in fight or flight, basically, that the systems in the body that are there that are there for long-term survival, they're just suppressed in that fight or flight state because your body's in this constant mode of short-term survival. It feels like it's under threat in every moment. And although I didn't know this, I was kind of young teenager, still going out, drinking 3-4 times or partying and studying at university. Like, that was a big pressure. Like, when I look at it in my life, I kind of look at the big pressures of like leaving high school to university and taking on a really, a big responsibility in a
it's
way.
an independent role then, then you become independent.
And you've got to start making choices of where you want the rest of your life to go. And it was always presented in that way, like you finish school, you go to university, you get a job, you stay with your career, you do really well,
You don't know who you are, but you've got to choose your career. Amazing.
And so I think, although this was not conscious within the mind, my body was feeling this. This was taking place. And so, a big shift from high school to university, then kind of moving into more serious relationships as well. I think that's a really big one, because relationships just they're all about the heart, and they just open up the heart. And if there's unresolved past experiences or ideas of who you think you are, whether you feel lovable or unlovable or capable or not capable or worthy or unworthy, it's all in here. And you start moving into relationships and it's beautiful, but the shadow side also comes out. So you're kind of dealing with extra responsibility. Who am I? What do I want to do with my life? Moving into relationships as well. What else goes on at that time? I think,
a teenager, or that time in life, it's like
having to work as well.
Expand,
having to take on a job and kind of do that to support your
it's work.
University.
It's not your career, who you are. It's literally a job to make
working
money.
in a cafe or So anyway, lots of external factors taking place that I think subconsciously caused my body to move into a stressed state, but I didn't know what stress was. What we got taught in school was that stress is when you're like, oh my god, I don't know what to do, and this kind of more conscious overwhelm.
And it's temporary.
I didn't understand that you could just be going along with what's happening in life and kind of say to yourself, this is fine, I can do this is what people do, I'm just going to keep going, turning up and going to lectures and handing in your assessments and going through challenges in relationships and shifts and changes in your family dynamic as well, with that greater independence. And I didn't realise that you could kind of consciously be okay with all of that, but your body may not be. And over time, it just can build up. And this is one angle, and I'll share another angle in a moment that I've come to in retrospect. So anyway, it was probably around 17 or 18 that it got to the point where I was just feeling really shitty. I was having to take a day off a week. My immune system wasn't working that well. Basically, it was all just kind of shutting down. Probably had something to do.
It's amazing at 16, 17 to recognise that, because people that are 30, 40, 50 don't recognise that. So at 16 to 17, that's pretty incredible.
I had no choice though.
Yeah.
We live in a body. I couldn't just go, everything's fine. It wasn't mental. It wasn't only mental. It was coming so palpably through the physical body. I had no choice. You can't just kind of zip this little suit off, jump into another body and just zip it up for the day and go, you go and rest over there. Yeah. So I felt like I had no choice. And luckily my mum was there to support me through this. And so we started seeing first a GP, then I think I went to a naturopath. I did that for a little bit and they just kind of prescribed medication, nothing really else.
Standard.
And then things didn't really get that much better. And then I somehow came across an integrative medicine, I think that's what they call it, centre, where I used to live. And I don't even know how I came across it.
I wouldn't even think that they'd exist back then. I understand integrative nutrition, but
Yeah.
that's now.
Yeah. So there was this centre, I used to pass it every single day on my bus ride on the way home from uni. And I just must have seen it, and I'd see it out the window, and I must have just taken down the number one day. You know how things like this happen.
Yeah.
And
They're sending a little sign.
yeah, so I gave them a call and I booked in to this one guy. There's probably, there might have been 4 or 5 different practitioners working from there. And this one guy I ended up connecting with, his name's Dr. Matt Burke, and he's based in Mona Vale in Australia.
Still around.
In New South Wales. Yeah. He's incredible.
Wow.
And so I started doing work with him. So he's a chiro and a kinesiologist. And then they also had a whole lot of testing that could be done. Like all the allergy testing and I don't even know.
Gut
I
health.
can't, I honestly
sensitivity and IgG sensitivity tests and blah, 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 blah.
It was so long ago, I did everything basically. And it all came back, all right, but basically he just looked at me and he's like, your nervous system is just so overwhelmed. You've got adrenal fatigue and your body is just on like high alert all the time. And therefore, your body's not functioning properly because it thinks it's under threat. It thinks it's in survival mode. Well, not it thinks, it is in survival mode because your mind is in some way perceiving every experience as a threat.
And it's just racing.
That's why your heart's racing, the anxiety is there, and then so much energy goes out of your body because of this state that then you've got nothing left. So then you fall into these states of being exhausted and feeling heavy and what's the point and all of that, and you swing between the two. So that was really interesting, and we went through a whole lot of like elimination diets and all of that to see if it was anything external. Turns out it was nothing external.
It was so internal, interesting.
Yeah, and 2 years with him, seeing him twice a week, which is not cheap.
Yeah, wow.
And I thank my mum so much for supporting me through this because I wouldn't have been able to do it.
Yeah.
I think there's so many incredible therapies out there for people, but a lot of the time it's hard to access unless you've got financial support. So I'm so grateful for my mum with that. And then one day my doctor, Dr. Matt, he said, we've been doing a lot of great work here and we're working through some really deep stuff. And with the kinesiology, it was a lot of past memories that I hadn't fully processed and resolved that were causing my body.
Which most people have.
This is everyone.
Yes.
It's just that I was starting to become aware that there's this thing called an internal reality. Prior to that, I thought life was just outside of you. And that what took place in here didn't affect out there, and what took place out there didn't affect in here. I didn't know there were these two almost separate worlds influencing each other. So, some brilliant stuff took place and we really released, a lot of past memories and really started getting into the deep work. But then my body started, I wouldn't say to get worse, but the symptoms started to come back quite intensely. And he just said to me, it's great that you're coming here twice a week and we're doing really great work, but you can't see me for the rest of your life. One, your mum won't be able to afford it. And two, it's just not, it's not sustainable. You need to start doing something for yourself every single day to help calm your nervous system. You need to remind your nervous system that it doesn't have to be in this fight or flight state all the time.
It's almost like he was your safety net, that when you went to see him,
my body could go through a process of healing and it would kind of move into the days following, but I didn't have anything that I could do each day by myself to maintain that state of relaxation that would allow my body to self-heal. And so he said, we all do a practice here at the clinic called Vedic meditation. My teacher who taught me is coming and giving a free introduction talk. How about you just come along, hear about it, let me know what you think, and if it feels good, then I think it would be something great for you to learn.
That's a long time ago. That's incredible.
Yeah. So I think I went when I was like 19 or 20 or something, and went to the intro talk, and I don't actually remember now anything that he said. All I remember is sitting there. It was quite a big room that I can remember, although I probably felt a lot smaller back then.
Like when you're a kid.
So everything feels really big. You're like, and I pulled my then boyfriend at the time along. We sat there and I listened to him, and I just remember going, yes.
Oh, that you loved
Yes.
it straight up.
I was just like, whatever you have, I need this. It was like, I felt it, I understood, and the way that he explained everything, it just made sense. And I was like, wow. And I've always been quite an intellectual person. So if someone can explain to me how something works, what it does and why, and I get it, I'm in.
Wow.
And he was able to explain all of that, and at the end I was like, yes, I really want to be able to do this. And then he said it was, I think then at the time it was like $1,000 to learn, and I was just like,
Mommy,
well,
I'll stop going here, but I'll go here. Yeah.
She didn't have the money, I didn't have the money. My boyfriend at the time was like, oh, it's just all bullshit, you know, it's all this blah 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 blah, and obviously that relationship didn't continue on for too long, but it did for another little while, and I was like, okay, well, cool, something great, but you know, continue on with daily life, you know, go to the pub that weekend and keep drinking and doing everything. It's really interesting, even in all the testing, they said I could still drink vodka. So it wasn't like I had to stop drinking alcohol to help my nervous system kind of heal and repair. It was never kind of suggested to me, which was interesting. I think not until a certain point, and I was just decided, I just don't want to be.
It's not for you.
Yeah. But 6 months later, actually.
So you did the course?
No.
Oh, you didn't?
No, well, I couldn't.
Yeah.
I didn't have the money to be able to do it. And then that was in the winter holidays of university. And then I went back for the second semester.
And were you still seeing the other guy?
Yeah. Still with him.
Okay.
Still with him for like another year.
Amazing.
Yeah. Went back for second semester and I was studying fashion design at university.
Really?
Yeah.
I would never think that. That's
I have
amazing.
a Bachelor of Fashion and Textile Design.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Hence why I like nice shiny clothes.
Yeah, nice, beautiful clothes.
Right.
Yeah. And you never know, there's still time.
Right.
Yeah.
So I went back and I remember so clearly sitting in this one room and we'd been given our next assignment for the semester, and it was a live project that they used to do. So we had to design a textile print that was going to go onto a scarf and into a tie that would then be made for the university so that they could give it as a gift to, you know, people that came along to give out awards and all of that kind of stuff. And there was a prize for it. So if you won,
Oh, no way.
the prize was $1,000 cash, and I think it was 10 meters of printed fabric for your final year collection the next year, which was worth like $10,000 or something. The printed fabric was more than $1,000 cash. So anyway, I remember sitting there and I read it and I just said, if I win this, I'm learning to meditate.
Wow. And at what, 20 by this stage?
Yeah,
at
20.
20, like that's amazing. There's not many 20-year-olds that would say that.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And so, put that down, got to it, next 6 months, just forgot about it. Essentially said, yes, I'm going to do this. Forgot about it, did the project, loved the project, finished that semester. And I'm working at the surf shop that I used to work at over summer. And I'm just inside kind of on the laptop while people are coming in and serving them and that. And everyone's out the back on the deck where it's nice and sunny and everyone's drinking beers and all of that. And I'm just checking my emails at work and jump online and an email pops up from the university. I'm like,
And did you remember before you read it?
oh, and I clicked on it and it just said, congratulations, you've won. A check for $1,000 is in the mail and your fabric will be there for next year.
Oh, how beautiful.
And I just remember crying. I was sitting there and I just started bawling my eyes out crying, and I ran out the back to everyone and I was like, guys, I just won. And I was trying to explain what was going on. They're kind of just looking at me going, and it was...
Until you said $1,000 and they were like,
Yeah.
oh, amazing. Yeah.
And so I...
And so that moment, you found your path, but it actually wasn't the fashion, it was the meditation.
I didn't know that at the time though.
Yeah.
I was doing this because of my own physical health.
Amazing.
Mental health too, but I didn't, as I said, I didn't know that mental health affect physical health.
No.
I didn't even...
Not many people still know that.
Yeah, so I called my teacher, I think like that day or something, and I booked in for the next course, which was in January. So it took about 7 months or so from first hearing about it, going, yes, I want to do this, to then it being I guess, the right time for me to be able to move into the practice. So then I learned.
And you'd get that a lot. Like, obviously, it took me a long time to come
Yeah,
and do Vedic.
yeah.
Like, it is. It's a process for
Yeah.
people.
Because when you learn this practice, it's not like you just do it once,
Yeah.
as you were saying, and kind of
It's a
go,
life practice.
ta-da! Like,
You got to be ready
got all
for
the
it.
benefits.
Mm.
It's a twice daily practice. It's not something, that's a kind of a light taking on. Like, you've got to be willing to commit yourself to it, especially for the first little part while you're making it a habit, because it can be very different to how you used to operate, in the sense of just going through your day and not stopping until you go to sleep at night, right? Kind of breaking up your day. So I learned that, and everything shifted and changed within the first 12 months of learning. Everything. I ended up moving overseas, broke up with my partner, and then I started having some really big internal experiences.
Wow.
And it was so wonderful to have my teacher, who I was able to email and kind of communicate with about what was taking place inside. And I'd go to weekly group meditations. Every week I was there.
Wow.
I mean, it was the most expensive thing I'd ever bought in my life. And still to this day, it's the best thing I've ever bought in my life.
Wow.
And I'd go to weekly group meditations, because when you learn Vedic meditation, you can then come along for free every week, ask questions, be part of the community. And so I did that. I did that for quite a while at home, and everything shifted and changed. It was really incredible. And then, I continued with my studies and finished my degree and moved to New York and did a whole lot of stuff. And this might be a story for another time, but there were lots of shifts and changes that took place before I went, maybe I want to be a Vedic meditation teacher.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't that I started this and wanted to be it right away. There was other things I had to go through first.
Yeah.
It wasn't until
more
about
experience.
it was like 4 years into it that I then it was presented to me. That's how I look at it. That it was presented to me as an opportunity, and I felt like I had no choice, and so I surrendered everything else and I moved into that.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was so it's been 10 years. 10 years
Oh,
since I
that's
left.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's starting so young.
Yeah.
Could you imagine that we got all kids starting meditating at
Yeah.
16 or 17?
Yeah, I think it has to be a decision they make.
Of course.
I think it's wonderful that parents meditate, because then it becomes part of the family environment and it becomes normal. Like, this is just what you do. But it's never forced onto the kid that they have to do it, because then it becomes...
No, of course not. If I say to Axel, my
Yeah.
4-year-old, if I say to him, you have to meditate, he's like, no thanks. And all it is for him at the moment is just closing his eyes and concentrating on his breath. But, yeah.
So, but I think it's great, like, if teenagers could learn this in those transitional years.
Yeah.
And it's like, 14, 15, 16, going into exam time, making decisions about where you want your life to go, moving into, more intimate romantic relationships. All of that is just huge. And
So what is Vedic meditation? Like, why is Vedic meditation different to other forms of meditation, and how?
it is quite different if you've practiced other meditations that are under the category of mindfulness,
Yes.
or you've done a lot of the apps as well. Those techniques tend to have more focus and concentration as a part of the technique.
Which is great to learn. I guess it's
Yeah.
great to start at.
Great beginners, like you
Yeah.
were saying, having your awareness and your attention on your breath, because that brings you back into the present moment, and it can help settle the nervous system. Vedic meditation, on the other hand, is known as an effortless transcending technique, or how I like to put it in more simple language, is an easy letting go meditation.
Wow.
And I think it's so important that we all learn or relearn how to let go, because the opposite of letting go is control. And we all know that we've got some sort of control issue going on,
Yeah.
and it causes stress in the body. And that stress, both mentally and physically, has a huge effect on your whole external reality. And so this practice of Vedic meditation, it's called Vedic. The word Vedic is actually an English version of the word Veda. And Veda is a Sanskrit word which means to know. It's the knowingness of life. And this practice has come from a tradition that originated in India, but you've got to remember that this was tens of thousands of years ago, where India was not the little India that you see today drawn on a map. This was the center of the earth, and these ancient wisdom traditions, the indigenous people of this land, just like we have the indigenous culture here in Australia, which we know has so much wisdom, so much understanding. This would have been the same in the middle of the world, and I would even say that Australia was joined to that piece of land at that time, if you go further enough back in history and geography. So these beautiful wisdom traditions that understood were directly experiencing this knowingness of the self, knowingness of life. And so it became known as the Vedic culture. And so this practice comes from there, so it's called Vedic meditation, but it's a meditation that teaches you a very simple practice, and this practice allows you to easily and effortlessly settle down all of the
chitter-chatter.
The movement, all the movement in the mind, all of the movement in the body, and allows you to let go, so you can experience the Veda that is within, that knowingness of yourself that is always here. We have simply ignored it for such a long time that we've become...
And our ego is starting to take over our mind.
Yeah, I mean the ego, again, this is a whole other video that we could do. The ego gets a really bad rap in the West. I always say that the ego is that part of yourself that identifies with whatever it sees. So I am this, I am this, I am that, I am. So it's the I am layer within. And in Sanskrit, this is known as the ahankar layer. Ahankar meaning I am, the I am layer. And so if for your whole life you've only ever had your eyes open in this external reality, and you have studied, you've grown up in a family who has particular belief systems and ideas about the world, you've then gone into a job, and you've done that for a long time, that you've started to say, oh yes, well, I am a teacher.
I am, yeah.
You know, I am a human, I am a person, I am separate, I am a woman, I am a girl, I am lovable, I am... So you see all this I am stuff, this defines our ego, which is our individuality, our sense of self. And what we're doing through meditation is actually creating the space for us to have an experience of what we are beyond all of the external realities. It's going deeper and deeper and deeper. And if I settle down, if I let go and I let go of my name, I let go of my age, I let go of all the relationships I've had, my desires, my failings, my, you know, sense of who I think I am, and, you know, I let go, I let go, I let go, I let go, I let go. When I let go of everything, what's left? That's the experience that we need to be having on a daily basis, because that is the direct experience of what you are. That is non-changing. It's always there. And this practice is designed to allow you to have that experience. And if you have it every day, your ego then starts to actually identify more with the what you are rather than the external who you are. And so you start to realize that you're starting to say, you know, I am, you might then say, I am not this, I am not that, I am not that, I am not that, I'm not my body, I'm not my thoughts, I'm not, but then you've got to ask, well, what are you? And these are some of the deeper questions that start to arise in some people when they practice meditation over a period of time. It's not usually the main reason why people come and learn to meditate. I've never had anyone walk in the door and say to me, please teach me how to access what I am.
I am.
Yeah. You know,
I want to stop saying I am.
People come because of stress. It doesn't matter where you're coming from. It doesn't matter what your age is, what background, what religion, what experiences you've had, what it is you want. Anyone can come. They can learn this practice. I teach it over 4 consecutive days, so it's a 4-day course, but you only come for 2 hours each day. And And it's really good to have that repetition, right? Because you meditate and then in the group, but then you've got to go home and do it by yourself. And it's much more challenging compared to meditating here, right? In a beautiful space where it's all set up and someone's guiding you. But to then take that and go home and do it by yourself.
Yeah, it's more challenging.
More
And
challenging.
you're accountable to yourself.
Yes. Oh, there you go. You are. And if you've got a kid, or you've got kids, or you've got a dog, or you've got shift work, or you've got all of this, you have to do the research to see where it's going to fit into your life, because not everyone has the same life. And you can't say meditate at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m.
Oh, I love that. So I've been doing Vedic meditation for 6 or 8 months now. It's been a while.
Yeah.
And I love, like, I come to the weekly community sessions and, you know, people are talking about how they get up in the morning and they do a beautiful meditation before everyone else gets up. Meanwhile, my kids slept on my head and I'm in bed and, like, my husband's left for work and I've got a puppy and I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I love
and
this.
It's 5:30 a.m.
I love this idea of getting up and doing it, but you know, sometimes as a mum it's not possible. It's just not. So you just got to kind of fit it in somewhere. Or sometimes I'll just leave Axel watching TV and I'll go to the bathroom or lock myself away or you know, just do something that's quite safe for him as well.
Totally.
Yeah, because it's you've got to fit it in sometimes.
You know, these practices with the modern life that we're living, they've got to be flexible, they've got to be adaptable.
Of course.
Otherwise they just won't last. And so I've found that, you know, you have to also make the commitment though, you know, to say that you can do this.
In and out for a long time, and now I'm more committed. But
exactly, it's something where you have to go, no, this is really important, because you're going to resist doing it for a little while, simply because of old patterns and habits that we have that tell us everything is more important than meditation, which is that everything is more important than looking after myself, than knowing who and what I am, and kind of take it on this deeper journey. So it does take some commitment at the beginning to make it a habit, but once you start feeling the benefits of it,
you do, and it's so beautiful. And I think that the fact that with Vedic is that you do offer the community sessions every Monday, and there's certain events, and it's a beautiful community, and you know, you have a question and answers that people can kind of come in and say, oh, this doesn't feel right, and this doesn't feel right. So it's not just the 4 days that you offer, it's the actual community. Like, and I think that's so important, because people just, you know, you want to be surrounded by like-minded people. And you know, I know my family certainly would never meditate, and you know, you go to them and you try and talk to them about it, or certain friends, and they're like, yeah, okay, whatever, like, not for me. And so you want those people that you can talk to and realise, hey, this is actually a beautiful thing, and it's a beautiful community.
I think support systems in whatever way are really important, especially when you're doing this work, which is you don't realise what you're getting into when you start meditating. Like, you're going to go through a rapid transformation of yourself, and beautiful expansion is going to happen, but there can be some challenging times as well. And to have friends around you, to have a community, to have a teacher to reach out to as well, that can answer questions or guide you in a particular way, or just hold your hand, essentially.
It's okay.
A lot of our community is just like, you know what, we're all in this together. And it makes you feel better, knowing that you're not alone. And a big part of our culture is that we feel alone, we feel isolated, we feel separated. So a sense of that I'm not alone in this, other people are going through this, they're doing the work, and I think I can too. There's this sense of inspiration that comes.
Well, everyone just wants to belong to something, exactly. Everyone wants to belong to something and feel loved and be loved. So this community is exactly that. It's beautiful, you know. We have 30, 40 people meditating at a time, and it's just gorgeous. So I just wanted to acknowledge you, Laura. You're so beautiful, and Vedic meditation has been amazing for me. I've tried so many different forms over the years, and I always knew I'd get there, and it does take some time. And then when you reap the benefits, you're like, I should have done this 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago.
And you say I learnt when I was young. I was like, fuck, why did I learn this when I was like 10 or something? But it just wasn't the time. And you know how I said there was 2 different versions of this story? How I said that was kind of what I explained was kind of what I saw, in the sense of things happening in a kind of a linear way. And it was caused by stress and past experiences that I've had, and it was in my body and all of that. From what I've experienced between then and now, as I looking back, I just see it as a huge awakening experience that was taking place.
Yes.
And energetically, my body was being flooded with this what I call like an upgrade in a way, or just flow of energy, and everything that was being cleared because of this flow was coming to the surface.
Yeah. And if that's challenging, like that, sometimes you're just like, whoa, okay, where did that come from?
But I now look at everyone's experience as that, because that's actually all that's taking place.
Yeah.
We're all awakening here, awakening to who and what we are, to the reality of life, of how to actually co-create an existence that we are desiring, one that's full of love, full of belonging, full of understanding and creativity.
Rather than sitting in that 9-to-5 job with a boss that's an
there was
asshole.
no way I was ever going to do that. Like from a kid, there was no way that was charming in any possibility.
So many people do, because they feel like they have to.
And I think there's so many people that are going through this experience of waking up, but don't really know that's what's taking place. And you can feel really shitty for a while. You can feel sick, you can feel anxious, you can feel all of that. And you go to doctors or you go to different physicians, and without this understanding of consciousness, of life force energy, of the more yogic traditions, you can be medicated for it rather than seeing it as a beautiful awakening that's taking place. Which is why I think it's really important that we have more community circles. We have groups to be able to go to, and we have people who have gone through the transformation within themselves and have maybe a more holistic big picture view that doesn't exclude Western medicine.
Yes.
That doesn't exclude all of the practitioner work, because it's fantastic, but it holds it in a bigger framework of understanding. So there's nothing wrong with you. This is actually incredible what's taking place. You just need help to stabilize and integrate this wonderful expanding experience of who and what you are that's taking place, whether you like it or not.
Well, meditation's certainly becoming more mainstream. It absolutely is, and it's amazing. People are starting to recognise it, but there's still those people that are kind of looking, and they're looking over, and they're intrigued, but they're just not quite there. So I think
anything in life, though, you talk about the tipping point.
Yeah.
There's that, isn't it? It's called some sort of curve. You'll have to look that up. But there's always the people who are the early adopters of any new trend, and then there are those that kind of follow
until everyone
and then
else
there's a big
comes
gap,
along.
and then the mainstream follows.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be those people that are kind of more open at the beginning to change, to different ideas, and it may take other people a little longer to get there, but what's it matter? At the end of the day,
all in divine time.
Exactly. And then you start meditating and you realise, wow, how did I live life without this?
I know.
I must have been so tired,
so
reactive. No wonder I was so reactive. No wonder I felt, irritated or angry or sad or all of these emotions.
I'm definitely more calm.
Less highs and lows.
I have to get this done. I have to. I can't go to bed until I get this done. Meanwhile, it's 12 o'clock at night. My son's up all night, and then I'd wake up in the middle of the night. I'm just exhausted. I don't have that have to anymore.
Beautiful.
You know what? It can get done tomorrow. There's no have to. Let's just do it tomorrow. And it is. That's beautiful.
What would you say is one of the most surprising benefits of your meditation practice?
I would say the level of calmness that I have. I've always been that real energetic, go, that I feel more calm now. And, I still react. I've got a toddler and I've got a puppy, and,
Which one's more challenging?
Life still happens, but I think it's my reaction towards things that's really, really beautiful now that, I've always been very present to Axel, but I'm even more present to him now, and I listen to him and I respect him, and I don't try and control him. I let him be. And I think that's really important as a mother, that you've really got to listen to your toddler or your child, because they know more than you know. You can protect them, but you can't necessarily control them.
Well, you're there to actually help. You're there to serve them.
Yeah, exactly.
You're in service in a way.
You are 100% at service when they're yelling at you. I'm hungry.
Yeah, right.
But that's what we're there for as
Exactly.
mums. Anyway, Laura,
Beautiful.
you are so beautiful, and I'm so glad that I'm part of this community, and I'm so grateful to you and to Alex that cooks all that beautiful food.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, it's amazing. Thank you for opening up your home to us. It's so gorgeous here. You've got a beautiful garden out the front, and yes, thank you for everything.
You're welcome.
I adore you, and we'll put up details of where to do Vedic meditation with Laura.
Yeah, come
and
along.
Please come
Love
to
to
the
see you.
community. It's really beautiful. Thank you.
Oh.